So I got my lemon water. See?
I
I had a
see
few
it.
Cokes yesterday though. I had a few Cokes yesterday.
Secretly.
Secretly I had a few Cokes yesterday. But I've been doing really, really good with this, so I'm, proud of myself for that.
I'm proud of you too.
Thank you. And, I kind of like this. It has that. It tastes like. It has that healthy taste. Like it's probably. It
Yeah.
tastes like what I imagine dishwasher detergent to taste like. You know.
You
But
say
I
you know
feel.
like that's something that I regularly do. Like, oh yeah, yeah,
But that's how you know it's healthy, right? Because when it tastes like that. So hey,
Uh,
hey everyone. I was like, little you know,
uh,
and I had to drop by the supermarket today on the way back, and I was like, I'm gonna grab a bunch of these, and I was like, I'm gonna keep my water kit going. So, hi
I'm
everyone.
proud of you.
Thank you very much. Well, you have been a huge influence on getting me to be
I don't know
better
why.
about that
I'll take
stuff.
credit for it. I always take credit wherever I can.
All right, everyone. Well, hello. How are you guys doing? Good to see familiar friends here tonight. We've got a cool little session to do. Um, me teaching you guys about hair right now, about how to draw hair, the secret of doing hair like Chris does it. Um, you should have like if you went to my to the Flux Destiny Twitter or Flux Destiny Facebook, there is a there's a little like image you can download that I'm the one I'm about to pull up on the screen, and it's this one.
I have mine. I'm all
You have
ready to
yours?
go.
Okay, because this is the one that we're gonna work from, so I can teach you guys. Let's wait a couple seconds here. Ella, like, what has been your secret? Is the music okay, by the way? You know how I always have to do the check. It was before we went on, so I want to make sure that it's not like crazy. So, Ella, what has been like before I get into this? Like, what's the most challenging thing that you have found with drawing hair? Like, what is it about drawing hair that you find complicated?
All of it. I hate every second of it. I boys' hair is fine. You know, it's really girls' hair because boys' hair just sort of sits like a hat. You know what I mean? And girls' hair, it comes down around the face, and to make that like stylized, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I think is really hard. I've gotten a lot better at understanding like hairline and stuff from you. I used to just like draw shapes like and it didn't work. You know what I mean? And now I understand it a little bit more, I feel like. So I honestly, it's one of the parts I'm not very good at, but I really think it makes the character because like this character in particular, like this headpiece, like you could turn this into anybody, right? Because
Absolutely.
yeah, and I always struggle with that because I'll make a really good face and then the hair I'll just be like blah, and then it'll be like, wow, that didn't turn out well. And it's like, well, because your hair is like 90% of your personality. Sometimes when it comes to drawing, I feel like it takes up a lot of
It
character.
really does. I mean, the hair is a lot. I think second to probably the eyes
Mm,
is your hair, right? And um, you can really transform any like head dramatically. Like this particular head shape is the head shape I usually use for like teenaged characters
mhm.
in Flux Destiny world. So you could make this into a Marco. You could make this into Hugo. So it's all about what you do to the details, like what kind of nose, what kind of hair, eyes, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna show you first a little like I had this little tutorial I did a while back that I want to share with you. of Hugo's hair and how that works. And if you notice, when we look at these like comparisons right here versus where his hair comes out, you have to think of it. I like how you said the hat thing earlier, because that's the best way to look at it. Is that especially when you're looking at like male hair, right? When we do the female hair, we'll do a girl's hairstyles in a minute. We'll start with male hairstyles because it's easier, and then we'll do the female hair. You notice, like with Hugo, you can see one of the most satisfying things of looking at an undercut is that, like, I love how it connects to the head, right?
Yeah.
And you can see the general shapes here for Hugo. So let's look at how we would construct using this like the way I start. And I'm seeing here in the comments, Katie was talking about striking the balance between stylistic and, like, you know, not, you know, some people, one of the biggest things I see people do when they're first learning to draw, especially when they're drawing hair, is they get very literal with it, right? You've seen the people who draw like every hair strand, right? Obviously, that's not going to work. Choosing your style of hair is really going to depend on your base style. You know, Flux Destiny has a stylized look to it. Not heavily stylized, but it's, you know, it's got its own, everything's chunky with it, you know?
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is here, and you guys can follow along. I'm going to first start by establishing the hairline. That's the first thing that we do, okay? And the hairline can be dramatically different. So actually, you can just watch right now. You don't have to follow me just yet, because unless you want to, on your paper. Make sure this is the right size. Yeah. If you notice here, like everyone, there's so many different hairlines. And once you establish the hairline, it makes the rest of the process a lot easier, because a lot of people throw the hair on there, right? But if you draw the hairline first, it gives you something to anchor to. Something I like to point to is when you look at something like, if you've ever seen like a Barbie doll or something that's had its hair removed or hasn't had the hair put in yet, you can see, if you think of drawing hair like that, you can see where the hair goes. It has a very specific place that it gets plugged in, right? Okay, so let's look at
the outline of it.
Right,
you know, like
absolutely.
The holes where it's supposed to go.
Absolutely. Let me combine these real quick. 1 second. So I can make it easier to make them. Okay. So I'm going to lighten this so you can see the hairline. So when we start putting the hairline, sometimes people have a regular hairline. So if we do like just Hugo's hairline, we would do something like this. And there's a distinction between male and female hairlines, because typically female hairlines kind of end right here at the ear, because you're not going to see, they don't, you know, typically you don't see women with a beard, right? So they're not going to have the hairline coming down into their face. So usually for a male character, this is where you're going to end the hairline. From the front, we would do like this. We're going to draw the hairline a bit. And obviously, the lower the hairline, there's a magic to where you put the hairline to, because if you put the hairline too low, you get caveman, right? Yeah. And the character actually looks dumber the lower the hairline goes, because you end up looking like a caveman. And the this is the particular position that I when I do Hugo's hair, is I do it from here. Now, some characters have a hairline that some people get a what do you call it? A widow's peak, right? And a widow's peak, when you draw that into the hairline, it actually makes a big difference too, because if you put it in like this, that widow's peak is important. I had a friend in high school who had like serious widow's peak, you know, and his hair would attach from that. It was always, as an artist, it was always fun to look at, because I always looked at the chunky shapes, right? if I were to, so once I've established the hairline here, let's say this character has a widow's peak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna start a new layer here and change the color. I'm gonna start drawing in his hair. What I would typically do is I would start doing the hair in chunks. So if, let's say this character has floppy hair, right? I'd kind of draw these starting from the front, starting from the widow's peak. I would do a Dorito shape thing like this, you know. Oh, hold on.
All
I gotta
hair
work
is
with this.
food.
All hair
All
is
hair
food.
is
That's
food.
right. Hold on, let me do this.
Pizza or Doritos or bananas, any of those.
So if you want to do like Edward Elric shape hair, you do this. You just attach it from the front, and then you do a Dorito shape like this, right? So now you already have the defining element. Like if this were Edward Elric, he'd have this here, right? And Edward's hair is actually really remarkably simple to draw. I actually like his hair a lot because it's very simple. Once you've done that, you've got the little antenna he's got. And then I'm going to draw the third part. I saw someone say Vegeta Vegeta has the like ultimate widow's peak. Like the ultimate, like you could cut a steak with that widow's peak. I'm going to draw the back end of his hair. So I'm going to draw it in chunks so you can see it in different colors. When we do the back part of Edward's hair, it kind of does like this. And do you notice how I go a little bit over the skull? Because you want to give it volume, right? If it's plastered to his head, you can do that if maybe the hair is slicked back, right? And you put gel in it. But I always make it extend a little bit above the skull to give it volume. And then it extends down into the what do you call it? The braid in the back, like that. See? Duplicating it on the other side. If I do that on the other side, see that? And then the little antenna. And then we're going to put the actual back part here. You see? So if you approach drawing your character's hair in chunks, that's going to make a dramatic difference. So when we draw, this is probably one of the most famous haircuts, you know, with Edward's hair. But we can try different styles. Like if we go more simple. Oops. Let's change this hair. Let's remove the widow's peak here. And let's do something more like Robin from Batman. So fix that. And then Robin's got, depending on the style of his hair, like he usually has it like back and spiked, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I would draw it like this. So this one is a little more free form because of the spikes. But if you want to contain it, so I draw it because I'm able to like eyeball it. And the reason I'm able to eyeball it is because I anchor it. Notice I always start with the hairline, right? So when I'm eyeballing this, see how it literally, I just pinned it right here and brought it to the back. That's it. It's that simple. And if you wanted to break this into smaller shapes so that this is because of my experience drawing this kind of hair a lot. If you wanted to make that into shapes, all you would do is this. You could actually make it into these. Do you see how they all invisibly connect to the peak of the hairline?
Yeah.
And then even here, when you're tying the hair, when you're pushing the hair back, that's what you would do, is have it go work like that. And there's something so satisfying about drawing hair that way. If I were to do it from the front, if you want to use this method of connecting it here, start with the centerpiece. I always start with the center because it gives you a place to you know to center yourself, for a lack of a better word. Give me another style. What do you want to see? Another male style, and then we'll try some female styles.
Mm.
We could do the undercut if you want to see Hugo's undercut.
Yeah, or we could do like a mohawk. I like the mohawk that you gave.
Mohawks are fun.
Yeah.
Mohawks are actually a lot of fun. I'm glad to hear. I saw that Katie's taking out her sketchbook and she's trying this. You guys should draw along with me. So, oh, you think this would look good on Hugo? This particular hairstyle? Okay, so let's draw a mohawk. Now, mohawks are fun, and actually, I love drawing mohawks, and that's why I gave them the Hanto characters from what do you call it? From Flux Destiny. They kind of, I took that seahorse shape and I turned, like, they have this kind of mohawk thing going on, and I accentuated it.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So with a mohawk, what I typically do is, this is where I bring the shapes out. Right now, when I'm working digitally, I would erase the shapes after. So let me just put that caveat. But let's say we're going to do you want a tall mohawk or a short mohawk?
Let's do a tall one. Dramatic.
Okay. So let's start with, so what we would do here, first I would trace where I'd want the mohawk, because mohawks come in all different shapes. But let's say, watch this line here where I'm drawing here. I would first trace where the mohawk would go on the head, where it attaches. So you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's super important. Then I would start drawing the actual shape of the mohawk itself. This is where I would start using geometry. So
you didn't tell me math was going to be involved.
Well, you didn't tell me you were going to choose a very complicated hairstyle. Right, the sides are shaved. So then what I would do is I would extend it this way. And sometimes the mohawk can take different shapes. Like, this is one that kind of tapers to the back. If you wanted a more extreme mohawk that goes like this, like we're doing a punk kind of character, we start with that. And then what I do is I start carving it out. I always treat these things like they're sculptures, you know. So I'm gonna take this shape here, and let me lower the opacity so you can see it. Change the color. What color do you want me to draw the mohawk in, Ella?
Purple.
Purple. Okay. I saw Liv mentioned Sora's hair. Sora's hair is very complicated. It looks complicated, but if you break it down to the shapes, it's actually not that hard to draw. And I might draw that before we start doing the girl's hair. Okay, so now that I've got his shape, what I'm going to start doing is start carving out. You kind of put these see where the hairline was here? You can put little markers there, and that helps you create masses of the hair so that it splits. See? And when you add these little splits in the hair, it looks more realistic. It looks more like hair. And the cool thing about mohawks and things like that, if you were doing this, there's spiky mohawks. You can do spiky ones. I'm drawing one that's more like a Roman helmet kind of mohawk. If you wanted me to draw a spiky one, I can do that too. So you see how I'm kind of breaking up the shape?
It's crazy because it already looked good, sort of just as the cylinder piece, but then when you add the breaks and stuff, how like quickly it starts to even like become even more real. Like I don't, not that I don't understand because I'm watching you do it, but like it already looked good, and then it's like, oh wait, no, like that's really good,
right? You know? See, and what's important about that, I'm glad you said that, because the reason I feel like it works is because animation, for example, or graphic novels or manga, they're symbols. Drawings are symbols, right? And so when you draw a character, humans don't look like this, right? Like they don't look exactly like this. Is a symbol for a human, right? And so our brain, when we can see certain symbols, it instantly recognizes the shapes. And if your shapes already communicate this, you're already winning, right?
Yeah.
It's all about then just adding the details, because your shape should communicate that right away. If you block it and put the shape, you should see it right away. That's the hair, right? Now I need to just carve out the pieces. Oh, Jacoby, no problem. Oh, awesome. Well, I am so glad that you, this is helping you, man. Like, they are my absolute most fun to draw is mohawks. And you could even do this if you wanted to be more like crazy. You can start doing this. You can add shapes that kind of come off like hold on, let me see if I can. You see how I'm adding a little more like but notice it's all coming from the hairline. So you can, if you wanted to make his mohawk kind of like have these little hair protrusions here like this, you could do that. And then you can cut them out. And then you can do all sorts of, like, see here on the hairline, if you want to show the character is kind of like, you can do little details like this. See? Like here's one strand that's not stuck on that didn't stick in formation, right? You can do that. You can do all sorts of things to add detail to the hair. Okay. I splashed my face. So I have a funny story. I have a funny story really quick about lemon water. So I'm drinking this lemonade stuff, lemon water. Real quick story. So a dear friend of mine, he's an animator, and we used to teach many years ago. We used to teach art classes in Austin at the art museum or something. I don't remember. We used to, do that. And it was late summer, and it was super hot, and he was running late to teach his class, and he had to take this long run to the classroom. On his way, he got super hot. He was sweating and everything, and he had to cross a track, like a running track. And when he did, he was like just sweating. He's like, "Oh my God, I feel awful." And you know how they set up like igloos so you can pour water to drink on a track? He went up to the igloo and he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just gonna splash myself with some water. I'm going to feel refreshed, right?" So he goes and he splashes. He gets some water and he goes sploosh, kind of like one of those skincare commercials. He's like all over, and then he goes, "Oh my God!" He starts realizing that it wasn't water; it was lemonade, and there was lemons in his eyes, and his hair was all like sticking up like this, and poor guy, he did not deserve that, but it was a funny story in retrospect. So
How did he walk? You walk into class and you say, "Hey guys, teachable moment." I just like,
Teachable moment.
yeah, like what do you just have to acknowledge it, or do you ignore it and then everybody's like, "Man, this guy is hardcore,"
Yeah.
Like I go every morning, I splash my eyes with lemonade. If you
That
want to
is
be a
so
true
funny.
artist,
Okay, so I'm gonna draw from the front just so you can see. And again, it comes down to putting these little breaks in the line here so it looks like it's hair. And if you want to, if it's kind of sometimes jarring to see just the big shape of the mohawk, you could also just put some like these accent hairs that looks like it's falling off, the side, if you wanted to, or you can. Let me put it in a little better position. Hold on. Like that. So there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do with that. Okay, I'm going to take the challenge before we start doing the girl hairstyles. I'm going to do the challenge of drawing Sora's hair. Okay? Since that was brought up. That's a great example because his hair looks so complicated. If I take his hair from, let me find an example here real quick. And I encourage you to do this with any character. I've said this a lot of times in my other streams. When you are trying to learn to draw, take characters that you admire their designs for and deconstruct them. Like take them and trace over them and figure out what shapes make them up. So let me find a Sora picture here so I can show you guys. There's actually two Soras here. This is actually a good one. Okay.
I always use pictures of Hugo because now that's all I can draw because I've gotten all my
What's
lessons
that?
of art for Chris. I've gotten all my lessons of how to draw from you, and now I can only draw Hugo. He's the
That's
only
so.
person I can draw.
That's you specialize in one type, one drawing. That's
One
it.
type, yeah.
Okay, so let's look at Sora here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw over him so that we can break down the shapes of his hair first, and then I'll replicate it. So when we look at his hair here, notice, like, let's look at this one over here. Notice that if I were to break this down into its parts, he's got this. Hold on, I don't think you can see that. Let me put a different color. He's got this main mass here. And then it's basically this mass right here. I'm drawing it in, I'm kind of containing the masses so you can see. That's basically what it is. It looks complicated because you're getting distracted by all the spikes. But all the spikes are carved from one shape. When we go to this other one over here, it's the same thing. There's this kind of primary mass here for his hair. And then he's got in the back, his hair does this. Right? So you have the shapes. So understanding that, like the other day when I may have been Liv actually who asked for Sora and Kyrie when I did that drawing the other day. I was able to draw it from memory because I remembered the masses of his hair and how they worked. So if I were to replicate that here, I would do something like this. I would, if I wanted to replicate the first Sora, I would take hold on, let me move this out of the way. So I'll make sure you guys can see it. Okay. I would first draw the front, and the front right here, when we look back here at this, it attaches right here, and he's kind of got this big spike here at the front. There's a follow-up spike in the back. And then it kind of goes like this. You see how all the spikes are coming from the hairline?
Mm-hmm.
Like leaves. Yeah, I saw in the chat Max was saying like leaves. That's a great way to look at it. Like leaves. And then we put the secondary mass, which is the this part in the back. Kind of goes like he's got like this here. And then coming from the side hairline. And you fill in the details here. And that's basically Sora's hair. So if you break it into those pieces, it's easier to draw that way. If I were to draw him from the front, from this picture that we just did over here. Oh. Over here. Turn off Hugo real quick. Okay. If we draw him from this side to do the front angle, this is really important. When you look at his hair, this, oh, you can't see that color. One sec. This is the part I'm going to start with here. This chunk. Notice that it starts from like right here, like almost the middle of the forehead, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would draw it from up here like this. I would go. And I'm giving it some volume, and I'm imagining it kind of connecting from the middle of his head. And then we draw the secondary mass, which starts from right about where this stops, and it goes like that. That's generally how his hair would work. Obviously, if I were to clean this up, it would look a lot better. I'm just kind of like throwing it on you. Did I just did I break you?
No, I keep thinking, like, as you're doing this, I'm watching and I keep thinking about whoever approved this, and then the marketing team, or like who has to like continue to draw this, being like, oh, like you show up, they're like, this is the approved hair design, and you're looking at it and you're like,
it's so
why?
funny.
You know, why would you do this to me? All I can imagine, like, because when I worked in animation, that was like one of the big things is we would get something and we'd be like, this is so cool. Now go do it again and make it simple.
Right.
Because it was like, this is a masterpiece and I can't recreate this, you know?
That is a great point, because when you draw hair, the simplicity is so important. Like sometimes there's two versions of Hugo's hair I do. I do a version of his hair that's like the one that you saw in the Flex drawing he did. That's like that's like when I put full detail in his hair. Yeah. But whenever I draw the like abbreviated Hugo, I do this kind of like mop on his head that I've shown before, that I use
the rooster, yeah.
The rooster, and you know, it's kind of like this. And that's it. That's the abbreviated Hugo's hair, like that. And then this part is shaved. That's it. If I were to draw it more complicated, if I were to draw it with more detail, I draw the more individual. What I do is I look at where his hairline is here. Right? That's where usually the undercut is, about there. His undercut is not super high. And then what I would do is, depending on the direction that he's looking, I would start drawing the individual strands. I'd first start with the ones in the front, and then I would start doing this. Once you understand where the hairline is, that's like 50% of the whole problem. If you're having problem drawing hair, draw the hairline. Draw the hairline. So let's do some girls now. The dollop, yes, the dollop.
You
That's right.
know, it's so crazy because both of them look so much like Hugo to me, like both drawings. Like you did the Brewster, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, that's Hugo. That's the Hugo I know. And then
Right.
you'll do the more complicated one. I'm like, oh wait, no, 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 that's the one. And but there's still like you've managed, I think, to find a good in between the simple and the like more complex
Well,
version.
this goes back to what you were saying earlier when you were reacting to the when you saw the shape of the mohawk when it was in geometric form. You
Mm-hmm.
instantly saw it. When you look at this one, at this hair, like the rooster hair that you call it,
Mm-hmm.
if I were to take that hair and start doing this, watch, you're going to recognize it because all I've done is abbreviated it. See, if I start putting the lines in there from these key points, you see, it's the same hair. I've just simplified it by removing a lot of the lines and
Mm-hmm.
focused strictly on the hair, on the shape. Now, I've drawn him a gazillion times, so it's very easy for me to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find it hard to draw Hugo's hair like this, you would simplify it even more. Like Max mentioned earlier, like dollops or leaves. Like, look, if I take Hugo's hair and I break it into one big shape, it's like this, right? And then
Yeah.
from that, you start carving out the pieces, right? And that creates a guide for it. Okay, so let's draw some girls' hair. Um, Ella, what kind of hair you want me to start with?
Hmm. I don't know. What's your go to like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna draw a girl.
So I love. Okay, I'll do my go-to style.
Okay.
So before we do that, we got to change the hairline. Okay. So let's
And
work
you'll have to
on.
forgive me. I'm on a bit of a delay, so if you say something like "see," I'll nod, but I'll
Oh,
be
okay. Okay, no problem. No problem. No problem. Um, so with a girl, the hairline behaves just a little differently where it kind of does this. You see how instead of having a sideburn, it kind of goes into a point and melds into the ear like this. I mean, you can look at your own hair to see that. Usually with girls, it's more like that, and that's the same from this angle. Right? So we've got the hairline. Now we're gonna start putting the chunks. So one of my favorite um, styles of girl hair to do. I love the big swirls of hair. Like I like big
Mhm.
floppy stuff, so I always draw that a lot. But if I were to draw like let's say well, let me think. Let me think who I can draw. Okay, okay, let's try this. So this, sorry, I was looking for some reference. So have any of you bought like those Nintendroids? I forget what they're called. They're like little figures. I have tons of them, but I never know how to pronounce the name. They actually come in chunks. Like you can plug the chunks of their hair in, and like when you assemble the
Oh
character.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Nendroids, I think is how you say it. So the girl characters work really well with that too. So if I were to kind of like, if you see me drawing here, I'm going to do the first chunk. So let's say I do something with bangs. Okay. Now, oops, hold on. I got to redo that. You have to do bangs on girls differently than you do with boys because usually boys, obviously, it depends on your character, right? Like the character's personality, but in general, the boy's hair looks more messy. Usually, it has a little more like
Mhm.
it doesn't look as under control. Usually, the girl's hair is a little more under control. Like you won't see a lot of flyaways, like you'll see in a boy's character's hair, right? So if you saw a second ago, like you see what I was doing right here, and you see this like little flyaway here, I was already kind of off. So I erased it because like, oh no, that's more like, at least in my style. In my style, that's more like a male character. So the chunks are bigger, Hold on, let me pull it out here. And it's more under control. So let's start from the center here, and we're gonna do. And then if she's got so this is kind of like wild anime here we're doing here. We've got like the little side piece here. And then
I like that it kind of comes from the back, the middle of the head, though, because I always, when I draw a girl's hair, I start it at the hairline, and then I'm like, why is her hair in her eyes? You know what I mean? And
Oh,
it's
right.
because, like, you're doing it like hair starts, you know what I mean? Like on the head, not like on her forehead, you know what I mean?
Exactly. You have to. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm going to show you that there is some things that you do with when you're planning hair that you have to think of this area right here. So I'm going to kind of trace it. This area right here. All of it is game. I mean, you can go all the way to the back. It depends on your character style. I'm gonna go. Let's say we do a character like Meryl from Trigun, right? She's got this kind of like comb over to the front kind of hair. It's like a pixie cut, but it starts from the back, right? So if I lay the foundation for her hair here by saying, okay, this is where her hair attaches, and I'm just doing this from memory, okay? So don't like if I screw it up, I'm sorry. I'm just doing it from memory. Okay, so it's kind of like. It's almost like this. Something like this. Something like that. Kind of like a pixie cut. But it's got this kind of comb over situation here that is not starting. I think your problem that you were talking about is it's not starting from the hairline here. It's starting from back here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if you started like drawing like rows here on the head and kind of created a grid, you can kind of see where like create it like a the Barbie doll, right?
Yeah.
You have these like this is where it's going to be. If she had more of like a bowl cut, you would do like this. You draw the bowl, and depending on how, I actually think bowl cuts look cool in animation. They just look satisfying because of the shape. My best friend in high school had a bowl cut forever. Until we went to college, I finally convinced him to get rid of it. It was already kind of old by the time he.
Really?
Yeah, he'd had it for so long.
That's funny.
But see, here I've established the shape of the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can. Let me lower it a little. Let me change the shape just a little bit. Okay. So now that I've kind of have this general shape. I'm going to start carving out. Now you have to imagine that, remember, it's kind of like a, have you ever seen those birds that look like they have bowl cuts? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, those birds?
Yeah, they're birds with bowl cuts. Look them up on Google. It's like birds with bowl cuts. And they have a hair, and actually the reason why I'm bringing that up is that it's a great example of how a bowl cut works. Hold on. Here we go. It's actually really cute. It's a super cute bird. And when you see the bowl cut, it's actually a great example of what I'm trying to show you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like here's one. I'm going to paste it here on the screen. Okay, do you see that?
No, but I will in a minute, and I'll go, oh.
It's got this like, you see how that you can see where it's the center point is, right here. That's the same idea with when you
Oh.
you see what I'm saying? So
Yes,
you would do the
very
same
cute.
thing. Whereas when you're drawing this character who has a bowl cut, the center of their head is right here, right? The
Yeah.
top of their head. So you would make these shapes do this. You see, this is super important. I want to make sure you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the center point? I'm doing just like the bird. I'm anchoring it right here to the top of this character's head, right?
Yeah.
And I'm creating the geometry of the hair. And I'm starting to create the little splits to show you where the hair separates. And when I erase, watch, when I start erasing this stuff here, it starts looking more like a bowl cut. And if I were to clean this one up at the crown, that's right. If I were to take this hair and start cleaning it, this is it, you'll see the dramatic difference when I start, now that I've kind of sorted out where everything is.
So how did you learn where each hairstyle starts? Did you just do enough drawings? Or, you know what I mean? Or did you have a book of hair?
I studied it. I mean, it's, once you understand, it's kind of I wouldn't say there's like one way that I learned how to do it. I would say it's just kind of studying it for a long time. But what it came down to was boiling it down to the simplistic stuff. And I've studied in a non-creepy way, I swear. Whenever I see people in real life, I'll sometimes look at them and I'm like, they have no idea that I'm deconstructing how their hair is built on their head. Yeah. Right? And I'm like, how would I draw that? You know, how would I draw that hair? And you start, all hair has similar rules. You know, you start with the hairline. Even if you were going to draw curly hair, right? Like on this character, if I wanted to draw curly hair, and curly hair can take all different shapes, but curly hair can be fun because you can do different kinds of curly hair. You can do kind of like this. See, but it's all on the basis of, even if you wanted to do some accents like this. You see?
Mm-hmm. I like that style.
That's cute, right? So you could do, if you were doing a girl who had really big, like fluffy, curly hair, or if she had like an afro, you could do like, depending on how you want it to be. Like, let's say if you wanted to give it more of like an afro style hair, depending on how big you want it to be. You draw the circle, right? You draw the sphere. And then you go in and put all the details. If you wanted to start adding details, you can. Now, what's funny is that this afro can easily turn into Cinderella's mom's hair. Because if I start adding these details like this, it suddenly goes from being an afro to being Cinderella's mom. See? Or whoever, or not Cinderella's mom. Actually, Lady Tremaine. Yeah, I think it's Lady Tremaine looks like this.
Yeah.
Doesn't she look like this? So yes. You could do that. Or you got to think in shapes, and look how radically that transformed that hair. Or if I did another one of my favorites is like, I love when girls do this. It's another kind of swoop hair. It's like you've got it's kind of like this. I like when it's like this, and then you've got kind of this. Sometimes you can make it a low bun here like this, where it's kind of like messy. This is a girl who's been doing her homework, and her hair is kind of a mess, and she's got it in a messy bun, and then she's got pencils in her hair. You know?
It's crazy because like these bases, you know, they look more masculine until you put the hair on, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's a girl, you know.
Absolutely. You could easily take this base right here, and because they're younger, you know, this is the teenage character base head. You could turn it into a female character by slimming the neck a little bit and changing the jaw just a little bit. But you could work from this basis. You saw how it turned into a girl, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't work the same with like a full grown adult male character. Like it wouldn't look as, because he would have more of like a defined jawline and everything that would it would not look like it would not translate normally to that. But you can use this base and create female characters from it.
Yeah.
What's another one you want me to see? Any other questions? I want a fun one. Let me see here. We got teacher from Izumi. Izumi's hair. Hold on. How does her hair work? Izumi. Oh, okay. Izumi. Yeah. Hold on. Let me draw Izumi's hair. Oh, hers is yeah. She's got dreadlocks. So let's look at her hair real quick. Okay. So here's what Izumi looks like. But you know what you just said earlier about like, oh, how you just took that shape and it suddenly went from being a boy to a girl. If I take Ed from that same, oh, let me find a picture of him, and you can actually see that they have kind of a similar construction. I want to find a similar picture. Oh, this is probably the best I can do. If you notice the similarities between the head shape and even the eyes, her eyes are a little smaller, and that's because as you make the characters older, you shrink their eyes for the proportion. You can see that it's basically the same head, right? It's just the details and what you do to it, and obviously the body shape. So if we were going to do Izumi's hair, let's get her dreads in. So if we're going to draw Izumi, let's do her from the front. We've been kind of neglecting this model here. All right, Ella, how would you start this shape, this style? I don't know if it's too small. If I need to make it bigger, hold on. If you were to draw Izumi's hair, how would you do it? Where'd you start?
I guess with, you know, the front sort of part, you know, like that. It's hard. I'm on a delay, so I'm like looking really hard.
Oh, it's okay. So,
but I guess because she's got kind of this front section, and then she's got, I guess, the bun in the back, you know, and then the parts coming down the side. So I guess the front section first, you know.
So we would first start with, like, let's analyze her head. Look at, she's got a widow's peak, right? You can see it. So we would first extend the widow's peak on this base here a little bit. And actually her hair is simpler than it looks, because it's really like 3 elements to it. What's that?
Yeah. Like 2 shapes. You know, you've got the one circle.
Yeah, like you've got the mass, the main mass here that I've traced. The bun, which is really not, it's kind of like a ponytail of dreads. I don't know if it's in a bun shape, but it's
ponytail.
And then you've got all the details, right?
Mm.
So now when I go in and draw her, when I duplicate this, I'm going to, and hers is actually doesn't have a lot of volume. If you notice, it's actually close to her head. So this is one that I would do a little closer to the head. So I'm going to draw the main mass of the hair. And then I would start from the center to start drawing the dreads. I love my new pen. Oops. Okay, we got that. And then now notice she's got, okay, whenever characters have hairs that kind of do this, like I call them, it's a word I came up with it many years ago. It's a stupid word, but I have not stopped calling them. Sincerity hairs is what I call them, because usually when you're in a very dramatic scene, usually the character's hairs will like, you know, like this, you'll have like clumps like this that'll come up, and it's like supposed to be like super dramatic, you know, so I call them sincerity hairs, you know. And so if you got if you look at her hair here, she's got 3 major strands. Like look at this one right here. This is a cool one. It comes from the center, pops out, and then tucks behind her ear, right? And then you've got these two right here that come out from the front and dangle. So if I were to do that from this side, I would let me switch colors. I would have it come out like this and then connect back here. And then I would have this other dread here. And then this other dread is kind of coming out like this. Sincere, you like that, right? The sincerity hairs, Max likes that. So, TM, copyright, TM. That's my word. But you can use it because I love you.
You said it like I think a while ago, and I just thought that that's what they were called.
Oh like, no, I invented that.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I invented it because I just said it one day and no one told me that.
I invented it because I have limited knowledge on and I don't know any better. So
you see that? So yeah, this right here, this is a sincerity hair. Even if it's in lock shape, it's a sincerity hair. Now, if I draw her from this other 3/4 angle, it's the same thing. I would draw the locks going back like this. Oh, you can't see it. This. Her hair is actually not as complicated as it looks. Right, Joey, when I was drawing Joey, that's exactly how I did it too, was that I was using this format. And then here comes the sincerity here right here. So satisfying. So satisfying. I love drawing. You want to tuck it here. I think I actually have it on the wrong sides of the head, but that doesn't matter. And then she's got them tied back here. She's got the long ones like this. See? So it's a lot simpler than you think. And once you've practiced it a lot more, it's actually a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to draw it because it's kind of like unlocking a language, you know, where it's like, okay, now I understand how to speak hair. Right?
I speak hair.
That's why I'm always like obsessing about like, you know, the structure, because the structure and proportions are the like 2 major key things that will help you, and shapes will help you draw better by breaking things down to it. Winry, she mentioned Winry's hair. Winry's you know, FMA has such great hairstyles. Winry is actually really easy to do. Actually, probably easier than Izumi. If I take Winry's kind of got this like something like I might be brushing it the wrong way. Hold on, I think she's got it the other way. I think she does it this way. She's got this shape here in the front, and Al kind of has his hair when he's in human form. Like that's actually Al. Like look how quickly this. So this is Al right here. But if I add hair back, if I do this, Al will become Winry, and she's got a high ponytail. You see how Al quickly transformed into Winry? So, it doesn't take much to be able to make that change. But there are characters like Ed or Link from Breath of the Wild who have ponytails, right? Who are male characters, and who you can draw convincingly that way too. So, anyway, so that's how you draw hair. So I hope that was helpful tonight to you guys. Did you want to share your hair that you drew, Ella?
If you can see it. So I drew the ponytail character that you did.
Oh, hold on. Let me change the screen so they can see it.
Oh no,
wait,
nobody has to
okay,
see it.
there you go.
So I did the ponytail character, and it's hard because I have the lines, I can't erase them.
Yeah.
But then I did the ponytail character.
It looks really good.
And then
I did really good. Like, look at that.
Yeah, I like it.
Actually, the one on the forward looking, the one from the front. Were you drawing yourself?
Yeah.
I was just drawing I can even tell that's your hair. Yeah, I should have drawn you to start with.
The little swoopy part that I have here, the little
the little swoop right there.
And I struggle. I've always struggled drawing my own hair, and then I just was like, I'll just try it like how you were doing it, like with shapes, and then it worked, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was really funny, and it totally worked. So I'm like really surprised. I'm not surprised, like you're a good teacher, but I just am like, it worked out, and now I like want to go try this more because I've always struggled with just like regular straight hair because I'm like I can do crazy stuff, but then it's like you do the regular pieces, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see. So I got one more request here. I'm gonna draw. So Max wants me to draw Soul from Soul Eater with the headband. Mm-hmm. And that's actually easy. Actually, what's great about I keep saying it's all easy because I again break it down into shapes.
Really good at it, yeah. It's really easy to practice it 100 times.
Right. No big deal. But when you take this approach that I'm telling you, it makes it easier. And the cool thing about drawing Soul's hair is that whenever you've got characters who have like headbands or goggles, mm-hmm. it covers a lot of like the detail parts, like that you don't normally, like you can cheat a lot with it. So if I were to draw Soul, I have to quickly remind myself how he looks on. Okay, so Soul's hair is actually really simple. And if I were to draw him, what I would do is I would go, you first start with the headband, okay? And his headband rides pretty low. So it goes. Now you don't really see his ears. I think they get covered by his hair. So I would first draw the headband. Max, I had one of those headbands when I worked at Funimation. I have it somewhere. I think I have it in a box somewhere because I got one while I was there. And then we draw the little detail of he's got this little like his little patch here that has like the lips on it, the Soul Eater thing, and then he's got Soul written across here. So with that part, now we start drawing everything. Now instead of having the hairline, you're working around the headband, which starts serving as its own hairline. So with Soul, his hair kind of does this. Something like this. And then he's got all these like detail, sloppy kind of like strands. Again, this is where I usually you'll see in male characters that are a little more um they're a little more like messy with the way their hair works. And then he's got like this. Oh, okay, awesome. I'll show Katie's. And then he's got these in the back here. Like that. So that's kind of what, and if you wanted to put a little more of that, that's kind of generally how that would work. All right, let's see what Katie's got for me.
And Katie drew her own like
Oh, that's cute, dude.
She like, you know, made it more feminine, just like you were talking about.
I love it. Like here, let's share. This is Katie, what Katie drew. And you can see she used all the techniques I was just talking about. Let me change the color a little bit here. So we can see it. You can see she followed all that, and look how she did the front. This piece is here. She used it. She used all the different methods to make that happen. So that's really awesome. She did a really good job with that. She did a really good job with that. That's very good. So you see, just learn the basics of the shapes, and you'll be able to draw. You know, now knowing that, you probably look at Hugo's hair differently, and you can see it for its shapes.
I'm
right?
looking at my hair differently. I'm looking at your hair differently. I'm like looking at people differently. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's a huge first step. It's like the next thing you got to learn is to look at them without looking like you're being a creep. So whenever I'm walking around, I'll sometimes notice people's hair, and I'll be standing in line at the supermarket, and I'll be studying how the hair is built on their head. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how would I draw that? You know, and it's a constant like exercise that I run through. How would I draw that hair? How would I translate that into a design? Sometimes I look at people like, and I think, oh, would they make a good character design? You know, like as a basis. Yeah. So if you learn to study people respectfully, right? No creepy stuff around here. If you study people respectfully, you can get a lot of ideas for it too, you know? So
yeah.
Anyway, well, I hope. Fun. What's that?
That was fun. I learned a lot.
You did really awesome. Like you look, and I recognized you, right? Yeah. Which was a great litmus test to see how you did that. Yeah, because you drew it. I know I've studied your hair, and not a creepy way, not a creepy way. Like, but I've looked at your hair and I go, okay, like if I were to, I should have started by drawing you, because then I would show how you're. But you did it. You did your hair. Yeah. So, anyways, well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Ella, as always, you did such a great job. I've noticed so much growth in your own style, in your own artwork as you've been doing this. So
thank you. You're a good teacher.
Thank you. I'm trying. So, our next live is
on Wednesday.
Wednesday, right? So Wednesday, 5 p.m. I think it is. Sorry, 4.
No, it's at 7.
7.
The Thursday live is our Patreon exclusive, and that one is at 4:30.
Oh, okay, got it. If you're new to the channel, if you have never been here before, I'm sorry I didn't get to introduce myself earlier. I'm Chris, creator of Flux Destiny. This is Ella, head of our RPG and our community, and my right-hand woman. And we are grateful to have you here. You are welcome to come join us on our Discord server. If you go to fluxfandom.com, you see at the bottom, there's a little thing down there, fluxfandom.com. That'll lead you to Discord. If you go to fluxdestiny.world, that's a link that you can go to as well. That'll take you to all our socials. So I put that down at the bottom as well. That'll take you to all our social channels, and we'd love to have you there. And if you haven't checked out our RPG, we've got this awesome RPG that went public beta. Go to fluxfantasyrpg.com and come join us. All right, Ella, thank you. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Hope you learned something, and looking forward to seeing the beautiful hair that you guys all draw. So, all right, good night.